Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Naja'atu Tijani and these are the headlines. Federal government's anti-corruption crusade gaining momentum with high-profile convictions, says Information Minister. Civil servants commend President Muhammadu Buhari for keeping promise of arrears of new national minimum wage. United Nations applauds process and conduct of 2019 presidential elections in Guinea-Bissau. And now the news in detail. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, has described the New Year message by President Muhammadu Buhari to Nigerians as not only significant, but reassuring that the nation's upward trajectory for sustainable future is no fluke. Mr. Oshiomhole stated this after leading some members of the National Working Committee of the party to an audience with the president. State House correspondent Adam Musambu reports.
The audience with the national leadership of the governing APC was the first formal engagement by President Muhammadu Buhari in the year 2020. The APC chieftains were in the State House to show appreciation to the Nigerian leader for ushering the nation into the new year and new decade with renewed hope for a better Nigeria, as contained in his first formal letter to his countrymen.
The responsibility of every leadership is to inspire hope, explaining periodically what he is doing, what he's going to do differently, and what he hopes to accomplish within a given time. And the president has said, even as I'm not going to contest again, I owe this country obligation to clean up the electoral process based on observed gaps and weaknesses here and there, so that I'll be leaving behind a legacy of free, fair, and credible elections. So we came essentially to assure the president that most well-meaning Nigerians are with him. They appreciate the hope, and the challenge now is to work hard to ensure that all of those promises that he has made, he will deliver in 2020, that we keep our word, because our word must be our bond with the people of Nigeria in our shared commitment to take Nigeria to the next level. All members of APC, rank and file and leadership level, must find time to reflect and contribute ideas on how to ensure that by this time, 2021, we will be able to look back and say, President said, I will deliver on X, Y, Z. At the end of the day, he did. And then we have a message for 2021.
The APC national chairman used the opportunity to commend President Buhari for his courage to put Nigeria first before any other sentiment in the execution of his mandate.
Consistently under this president, people are now used to going for Christmas without having to worry whether or not there is petroleum products in the market. I also think that we ought to celebrate the fact that we are able to celebrate Christmas and New Year, and people have rice everywhere that were not imported from other countries. Nigerian-made rice.
Mr. Oshiomhole, who presented a season's greeting card to the president, reassured the nation that in the year 2020, the governing APC will not only be stronger, but more coherent and peaceful. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still on the nation's trajectory, the federal government's anti-corruption crusade is steadily gaining momentum as a number of high-profile convictions have been recorded. This was contained in a brief by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed. Anthony Forson reports.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, said it secured 890 convictions, standing as the highest anywhere in the world. This is against 2015 103 convictions, 2016, 189 convictions, 2017, 190 convictions, and 2018, 202.
The high rate of convictions in 2019 is in addition to the billions of naira in looted funds that have been recovered by the EFCC.
On its part, the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission (ICPC) has launched a novel project of tracking the huge resources allocated to constituency projects over the years, starting with the education and health sectors, a move the minister stressed has forced contractors back to project sites they had abandoned. While the Wahala Day app, a one-stop shop for daily information from ICPC and for Nigerians to report acts of corruption, has also been launched by the commission.
This is not the first time Nigeria is fighting the cankerworm of corruption, but it is the first time that the fight is being backed and sustained by a strong political will, with a president renowned for his honor, dignity, and incorruptibility, personally leading the fight. And that is making all the difference. I've also said that while the war against corruption is still a war in progress, it is also fair to say that corruption has now been driven under the table and that the corrupt ones can no longer flaunt the process of their corruption the way they used to do in the past.
On security, Lai Mohammed reiterated that the gallantry of the nation's men and women in uniform was stepped up in the fight against insurgency, despite the fact that they are fighting the rump of Boko Haram as well as ISWAP.
It is important that we as citizens do not say or do anything to demoralize the gallant troops who are fighting to keep us safe. Let us remember them in our prayers and give them our support always, rather than sniping at them. Terrorism is not just a Nigerian problem. It's a global problem. It has global ramifications.
The ongoing border drill, the minister said, is undoubtedly one of the boldest decisions ever taken by any administration in Nigeria as part of measures to secure the nation's land and marine borders.
For clarity, the ECOWAS Protocol on Transit demands that when a transit container berths at a seaport, the receiving country is mandated to escort same without tampering with the seals to the border of the destination country. Unfortunately, experience has shown that our neighbors do not comply with this protocol.
Critical infrastructure on its part, the minister said, this administration has remained consistent in terms of developing the sector. Lai Mohammed added that most heartwarming is the signing into law the amended Deep Offshore Act by President Muhammadu Buhari. With the year 2019 remaining as a momentous year, the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has indeed taken Nigeria closer to the next level target. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And now to Labour matters. It was indeed another promise kept by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration as civil servants under the purview of the federal government received in full the arrears of the new national minimum wage. Chukwunonso Nwabwezi felt the pulse of some civil servants in Awka.
Records have shown that the month of January has over the years been the most tasking for many Nigerians, especially civil servants, due to huge demands associated with the month. However, the case seems different this year following what happened at the tail end of 2019 with the bombardment of the mobile phones of federal civil servants on salaries grade levels 8 and above, with the credit allowance of the arrears of their 2019 new national minimum wage, which they refer to as the best New Year 2020 gifts.
I will say that it comes at the appropriate time because at least, if not for anything, we, the civil servants, we needed it most now. We could have loved it to come before Christmas, but God knows the best that it came after.
We have been expecting it since, and since it has been done, we thank the government. And then we pray that the states will also emulate what the federal government have done.
We have to be appreciative to the government in the first instance because it is not easy. This is matching statements, with action.
While commending the federal government for keeping to its promise, the need for sustenance as key to transforming the nation's civil service is being advocated.
We are quite appreciate that the government, at the end of the day, has decided to pay the minimum wage.
We expect that government should do well in this new year to also improve.
The mood of the civil servants, many believe, will motivate them to putting in their best towards ensuring that the programs and policies of the federal government impact positively on the populace. In Oka, Chukunonso Nwabweze, NTN News.
Thank you, Chukunonso. And now to judicial matters. The Federal Capital Territory High Court sitting in Maitama has granted the application of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to extend the detention of the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Mohammed Bello Adoki, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, in its custody. The vacation judge, Justice Othman Musa, gave the order, having taken a look at the ex parte application brought before the court by the EFCC counsel, Aisha Habib. The order is to keep the former Minister of Justice for an additional 14 days pending his arraignment. The former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Bello Adoki, was arrested for alleged abuse of office and involvement in the Malibu oil deal. And on the security front, troops of Operation Laifia Adoli and the Multinational Joint Task Force have rescued 165 victims from Boko Haram captivity. A statement by the Nigerian Army Operations Media Coordinator Colonel Aminu Ilyasu indicates that the victims, mostly women and children, were liberated during a clearance operation in northern Borno. Colonel Ilyasu notes that 75 suspected terrorists were arrested, others killed, arms and 15 cars recovered during the encounter. Similarly, repentant militia in Langtang North and South local government areas of Plateau State have surrendered several arms to troops of Forward Operations Base in Shandam, Plateau State. Meanwhile, several Boko Haram terrorists have been neutralized and some structures in their camp at Abulam in Sambisa Forest area of Borno State have been destroyed in airstrikes conducted on the 31st of December 2019 by the Air Task Force of Operation Laifia Adoli. The mission was executed to mark the commencement of Operation Rattlesnake 2, an air interdiction operation aimed at taking out some identified insurgent camps and logistics facilities to further unbalance the terrorist center of gravity and diminish their fighting capability. Abulam was selected for attack on day one of the operation based on credible intelligence reports indicating that the terrorists had resumed using the once abandoned settlement as a staging point from where they launched attack against ground troops locations. Now, to sustain the prevailing peace in Jigawa State, the State Police Command is taking proactive measures to prevent farmers and herders' friction associated with harvesting seasons. Ibrahim Sani reports that the state is collaborating with the traditional institution.
Fulani and herders' conflicts remain predominantly a resources conflict in northern Nigeria. Despite the obstruction witnessed in some parts of the country, it is believed that in Jigawa State, the relationship between farmers and herders remain peaceful. The feat is achieved as a result of sustained commitment by stakeholders, especially security agencies and traditional rulers. Jigawa State Police Commissioner Usman Sula Gabna commended Emir Abduse, among other traditional rulers, for the feat. He says a good record of peaceful coexistence in Jigawa State needs to be sustained.
The traditional institution can make a lot of impact in bringing these two groups together so that there should be peace. And that will mean talking to them, dialoguing is what we want.
Emir Abduse Alhaji Muhammad Sanusi says Duse Emirate will continue to contribute its quota towards sustainable development.
We will continue to bother you on issues that will help you as the most senior police officer, so that what you you will achieve what others also have in this state.
The harmonious coexistence between farmers and herders in the state, the royal father says the feat was achieved through peaceful resolution, mediation of conflict and settlement of dispute to ensure that the social order is maintained. In Dulce, Ibrahim Sani.
This is the news on NTA International.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thanks for staying with NTA International. Now, the world has turned 365 days on its orbit, opening a fresh page for a brand new decade 2020. This means that all the political and socio-economic events that took place in the year 2019 are now in the book of history. It has been predicted that the new decade is full of events that will make the new year a memorable one. Musa Baba Aliyu takes a look at the likely events in the year 2020.
A year is just like a large container housing 365 beautiful days in which one is released every 24 hours. This natural occurrence gives man the opportunity to plan his programs within the calendar days. Now for the year 2020, which started counting on Wednesday, there are events expected to take place within the 365 days. In Africa, the major events that will attract world attention are the takeoff of single currency to be known as ECO. Already, 9 countries have agreed to key into the single currency. Similarly, final negotiations on the African Free Trade Zone is expected to be completed in June this year. And still in the year, presidential elections will be held in nothing less than 6 African countries, which include Ghana and Niger Republic.
I think if they should, follow the rules and regulation of electoral guidance, electoral, template that is being prepared by such nation, I think we will have a peaceful, election process.
Nigeria will be celebrating 60 years of independence as the country gained her independence in 1960.
We have enough food, we have enough capability to sustain our economy. And so the economy is going to turn around to be good for Nigeria.
The United Kingdom has fixed 31st of January to exit the European Union. Another issue that will get attention of the world is the fate of President Donald Trump of the United States as he awaits the decision of the Senate on his impeachment by the House of Representatives.
The U.S. election was a very, very big one, with people like Joe Biden coming out for the election, the Donald Trump factor. And in my own opinion, if you look at those two parties, they will have a very strong say in this time around.
In the area of sports and entertainment, the famous Argungu Fishing Festival is to be revived after years of suspension. The festival is now scheduled for March this year. UEFA Champions League will be held in 12 European countries, as well as Summer Olympics scheduled for July this year in Tokyo.
Nigeria too, I equally look forward to seeing Nigeria do well in this year and preparing us and winning our matches for this World Cup.
Although so much planning has gone into putting up this event, however, there are unforeseen circumstances that may alter the realization of this event. This quote, everything can change in an unexpected instance, and there is only before and after, clearly puts it in proper perspectives. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Thank you, Musa. And on the global scene, the United Nations has described the process and conduct of the 2019 presidential elections in Guinea-Bissau as peaceful and credible. We'll take that story later. Now, the United States Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in his New Year message, has called for collective action, saying we cannot afford to be the generation that fiddled while the planet burned. He says 2020 marks the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, and it is launching a decade of action for the Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Blueprint for a Fair Globalization. The United Nations Secretary General described climate change as not only a long-term problem, but a clear and present danger, but was quick to add that there is hope.
This year, my New Year's message is to the greatest source of that hope, the world's young people. From climate action to gender equality to social justice and human rights, your generation is on the front lines and in the headlines. I'm inspired by your passion and determination. You are rightly demanding a role in shaping the future, and I am with you.
And for more trending stories on the global scene, Uche Ugochukwu is our guide.
A warm welcome. The Special Representative of the Secretary General and Head of the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel, Mohamed Ibn Chambers, has commended the successful conduct of the presidential election in Guinea-Bissau and urged party supporters to continue to show maturity. At the end of a 3-day visit to Guinea-Bissau, Chambers lauded the country's Electoral Commission's announcement of the results of the presidential election, which marks an important step in Guinea-Bissau's democratic development. On Australia's fire, leader of Eastern New South Wales state has declared a week-long state of emergency in response to the escalating bushfire threat. Prime Minister Scott Morrison had to cut short a visit to one fire-hit town after being teased by angry residents. Thousands of people are fleeing a vast tourist-live zone with supplies running low in some cuts of towns. Finally, thousands of people were evacuated in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, on Thursday after flash floods and landslides killed up to 26 people amid some of the heaviest rains in more than 20 years. President Joko Widodo said evacuation and safety measures should be prioritized and called for more coordination between city administrations and the central government. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu, wishing you a prosperous New Year.
Thank you, Uche. Over now to Onengie Fine Face for happenings in the financial sector.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation on Wednesday announced that vandalism of oil pipelines across the country reduced by 81% in October 2019. It stated that 35 vandalized pipeline points, representing a decrease of 81% from the 186 vandalized points in September 2019 were recorded. This came to light as the corporation again posted a trading surplus of 13.23 billion naira in October 2019, representing an increase of 54% when compared to the 8.59 billion naira surplus posted in September last year. NNPC says only one pipeline was ruptured. Ibadan-Ilorin axis accounted for 34% of pipeline breaks, while ATC Moshimi and others accounted for 23% and 43% respectively. Talking e-economy now, bank customers carried out over 1.65 million transactions on Nigerian Bank Settlement System, NIBSS Instant Pay platform on New Year's Day. Live updates provided by the NIBSS indicates that as of 3:54 p.m. on the first day of the year, NIP deals hit exactly 1,646,443. Analysis of the live electronic payment data shows that a low failure rate of 0.91% was recorded on the platform, with customers experiencing a total of 14,985 failed transactions and 1.631 million successful payments. That's business news. Thanks for your time. I'm Onengie Fine Face.
Thank you, Onengie. Good news for sports lovers. Nigeria clinches first sports gold medal in 2020. Kene Emma Bodike tells us more.
As Nigerians gather for different sporting events in 2020, Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Sanda Dare, has outlined some of the plans of the ministry, which include renovation of 4 FIFA standard pitches by the first quarter of this year, athletes' welfare, grassroots sports integration, as well as repositioning the sector for viable business potentials. Dare said the ministry will also monitor and ensure the completion of about 20 mini stadia across the country. Nigeria women's beach volleyball team has won the country's first gold medal in 2020 by winning the Camtel International Beach Volleyball Championship for the second consecutive year. The duo of Francisca Ikeda and Amarachi Kelechiku defeated South American champions Brazil 2-0 in the women's final on Wednesday. The men's team settled for bronze medal after losing to host Cameroon 2-1 in the third place match. Meanwhile, Nigeria's senior women volleyball team Thursday departed for Cameroon, where they will battle Egypt, Kenya, Botswana and the host for